financing your next billion gain insights into successful engagements with venture capitalists and investors. Get ahead of industry trends, hear from industry leaders, influencers, founders, policymakers, and governments. Stay in the know on how to finance your next billion.
Here we are, starting another week. Jerome, how was your weekend?
Oh, fantastic weekend. Listen, had a chance to look a little bit over the Super Bowl, had a chance to connect with some great friends. So really, really good weekend, and looking forward to this week and exciting things to come. What about for you?
Okay. Well, how about that? How about that Super Bowl? I think they did a nice job with the Super Bowl, thinking, looking at COVID-19. And it really looked like at first I thought the stands were filled with fans. And then I realized it was the cutouts and the people. But I thought they interspersed everything really good. Did a wonderful job with that. And how about that? Brady came, he did it up. He did it up. One more
Yes, he did.
Super Bowl ring for him.
Yeah, yes, he
I
did.
thought he made a good showing out there.
Yeah,
So
yes, he did. So maybe he'll retire and let some younger guys.
I think so. I think so. He went out like a consummate gentleman. The best thing to do is to go out on top.
That's it.
Yeah, that's the best thing to do. So I see a lot of the other people in that age category are kind of aging out. They're kind of stepping out, stepping aside, and letting the young guys take over. I saw where Drew Brees, he said officially, he's gone. He's going to sign that, that 1 year contract, and then he's out the door.
Yep.
So that's very good to see them doing that. So today we have here on FYNB with your host, Yvonne Gamble, co-host, and my co-host with me, Jerome Curry. And we're going to be going over the highest and best usage of the capital guarantee. And if you're just joining the series, we've got about 5 to 8 pieces in this series that we're going to go to. We're breaking this up because this is a very heavy topic when we talk about a capital guarantee and how you actually, the capital guarantee, it mitigates the risk for the investor. So what we're giving you here is some knowledge and some information on exactly how that capital guarantee works. And what we're talking about today is going to be more or less that highest and best usage of the capital guarantee. So with that, we're just going to kind of jump right in and look at our first topic that we're going to be discussing, and that's going to be, how can that capital guarantee, how can it be used? So we're going to start off, Jerome's going to kind of kick us off here, just with some ideas or some thoughts on, how might a, capital guarantee, bank guarantee, standby letter of credit. Jerome, can you kind of give us, set the stage for us?
Sure. And just to kind of set the stage a little bit further, simply what the capital guarantee is, it is that collateral guarantee where you're guaranteeing, where someone or some entity is coming along and assisting and guaranteeing your project. So what is the highest and best use of your capital guarantee? Well, what it does and what it sets up for you is the ability to obtain a higher level of funding. So let's say, for example, you have a organization that's willing to loan you up to a certain amount. However, they want some assurances that your project is going to be completed. That's one of the first things that an investor would be worried about. Will this project be completed? And if not, then what guarantees do I have against the capital that I'm loaning out to you? So that capital guarantee just serves as that collateral. Now, here's the good news about the capital guarantee. It actually will sunset once the project is completed. So once that project is completed, the capital guarantee actually sunsets, and then the investor is the full owner as far as the fiduciary and loan responsibilities. The investor now takes all of that risk on at that point. So the good news for in obtaining a capital guarantee is that it's not forever. It's just until that project is completed. Now, typically that's considered the commercially operational date, and those terms simply mean is the date that your project is going to be finished. Now, what that simply means is that you have to provide some clear milestones and have a clear direction for what your project is, and that's how the capital guarantee can be used. It can be used as that collateral piece to help you to obtain a higher level of funding. Yvonne, any questions on that by chance, or any thoughts on that?
Well, yes, I guess, that makes absolute sense, and especially for someone coming into the investors world, because basically what you always want to be apprised of, and you always want to make certain that you are thinking about, forward thinking about, like Jerome said, and that is guaranteeing the capital. Someone is going to do that because it mitigates the risk. So if we could think about it in terms of what can I do? How can I actually mitigate the risk? If you can present to a investor that not only, I have the next big thing that I want to do, but I've also thought about your interest in this. And not only is that your interest in this is not simply the return on the investment, but it's protecting the investment during the period you're actually putting the project in place. You're going through all of the different iterations, with the project. But I'm thinking about you, the investor, and what might be an issue for you to make certain that it does not become an issue for you.
Absolutely.
So therefore,
Absolutely.
I would definitely, say to someone that if I'm going to come to them and actually have that, I want to basically have already thought about what I'm going to do and how I'm going to actually lower their risk on this investment. And I know, Jerome, what would you think? You think somebody would be, more willing to invest in me if I've already thought about, their part in all of this?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to say this. It is all about building great relationships. And let me show you how this works. If I went to my friend, or if you were going to a friend and you said, listen, you know what, friend, I want to borrow $3,000 from you, or I want to borrow $5,000 from you. Yvonne, this has never happened to you, so I wouldn't know how that would work. But uh, so your friend is going to want to know, well, okay, when are you going to pay me back? How are you going to pay me back? You know,
Hmm.
uh, how is this going to work? Are you going to communicate with me? These are all the things that your friend, even though they're a great friend or a great family member, they may want to know. They may want to know all of these pieces that make it so much more clear on how they're going to get the money that they lent you back. And so what happens is it's that simple trust building standpoint. When you look at it from standpoint of, you know what, I'm going to build trust with this person by going an extra step and saying, this is how I'm going to pay you back. This is where it's going to come from. This is what I intend to do with the money, and here's how this is going to work. And that person feels a lot more comfortable in lending out that money. Now, Yvonne, I know you've had I know you don't have any circumstances where you've had that before, so I don't think you can comment on that. But I mean, I'm certainly
That becomes that's a very well charted territory. And sometimes you do go into that kind of knowing or not knowing or what have you. What I wanted to kind of do with this topic, but I like what you were saying, and that is, how do those invested funds, how do they get paid out? How do they get that money to you? And this is very important to know, right here, because this is also information that you should be apprised of and you should know when you're talking to an investor. And that is, those funds are actually not just simply put into your bank account. Those funds are deposited into what we call an SPV, a special purpose vehicle. And the reason they're put into there is that special purpose vehicle, and generally they will put together a corporation, for that, with the special purpose vehicle, and give it a name. And generally you hear that as holding company. So that'll be the holding fiduciary for the actual funds. And then all of the people who are on that, the investors, all the different companies, everybody who has invested in there will have a stake in that fund, get to the same percentage, it doesn't change. And then that way, everybody knows exactly, they'll assign a trustee, and then it's that trustee's duty and responsibility to give that monies out, as allocated according to, we'll get into that later, but we'll be talking about a draw schedule, and then to do that accounting, of that actual fund, what went in, what went out. That way it takes the onus and the responsibility off of you, the founder. It takes the onus and responsibility off of the investor, and it puts that on what you would consider a third party. So they usually, an agreed upon third party is actually going to be the fiduciary trust. They do. And we work with several of those different companies where they handle those types of investments. And that way you can feel very happy and the investor can feel very secure. So when you come to the investor table, these are things that you need to already know about. These are not things that you need to come to the table and it's something that the investor is saying, well, how are we going to handle this or how are we going to handle that? And you're like, well, I don't know. What do you want to do? No, you need to come to the table saying, I can get a capital guarantee from you. I've already secured one, or I'm already working to secure one. And our special purpose vehicle that we need to set up, I have identified some companies that I would like to work with. And then the investor may say, well, I have companies that I work with, on a regular basis, and that's fine. And then the two of you can decide, which companies, that you're going to work with, who's going to be the trustee and that sort of thing. But what's the most important in that conversation is the fact that you already thought about it before you got to the investor, and it wasn't an afterthought or the investors telling you this is past, you're totally brand new to all these different things. That's one of the main reasons that Jerome and I, we take the time to go over all this stuff with you and to tell you and to provide this information for you so that you know what goes on during this process. So there's a lot of little piece parts. And I know that most of you as founders, you're doing what all of us have done, and that is you're running your business, you're marketing your business, you're advertising your business, you're developing new processes, new softwares, new hardwares. I get that. But these things, when you start and you're going to be raising capital for your business, these are just some of the things that you need to know. Jerome, can you talk about how is the total cost, of a project? How does that actually get handled?
Yvonne, Yvonne, I just want to lean in really good here and want everybody to listen very carefully. Uh, it is so important for you to spend time really understanding your financials. It it's so critical, and here's why. Yvonne and I can testify to the fact that we see companies all the time that have raised a small amount of money, and that small amount of money is not enough to get them to where they need to be. And so what ends up happening is that they underestimated the amount that they're going to need to get them to the next level or to get to project completion. What does that mean? Well, it's so important that you estimate accurately your financials up front. I can't stress the enough how important this is to get this step right, because a lot of companies get this step wrong. And what happens, one of the number one reasons that businesses go out of business is because they're undercapitalized. They don't have enough money to get to where they need to get to, or they don't have enough money to finish out their project, which then in turn creates this stress of now you have to build your business. Now you have to go out and raise more money. Now you have to go out and do all of these things. So it's so important that at the beginning of your project, sit down with someone that can accurately estimate your your total project cost. And then after accurately estimating your total project cost, really look at what contingencies have you put into place for your business. What if this doesn't go according to project schedule? What if this doesn't go according to project schedule? Well, guess what? If you come as a part of this investor build relationship building process, if you come to the table understanding that, listen, we're putting this amount just in case for
Mm-hmm.
contingencies, in case our
Yeah.
project does not go according to the schedule that we have. There are a number of different things that can
Mm-hmm.
impact it, from environmental to social to legal, that could basically hold up the project. So what we want to do is have enough resources, enough um, resiliency in place that we can withstand and we can see our project through to completion. That sounds a lot better to the investor, as opposed to, I'm going to put my project up bare bones and I'm just going to get out here. We're going to make it happen, nothing's going to happen. And you've got these blinders on, and it just doesn't work that way. Your financial game plan has to have contingencies in it. You just have to. And I think I just stress this so much. I mean, Yvonne, maybe you can share something on this, but I just stress this so much because we see it happen so often where you don't have enough resources to accomplish the project goal, and that's one of the critical failure errors.
Yeah. You're absolutely right with that, Jerome. And really, it's planning and strategy and contingencies. And what I will tell you, we'll tell you a little bit here, but we are going to have a whole total segment, and that's on what I call, your barriers to funding. And in that presentation, what you will see is we will talk about your 10, and your 10 people, your 10 resources. These come to you in different ways. These you have to actually set up and make sure you have in place. Think about it like this. Here's a quickie. If you say your business has a valuation of $5 million, then that means you need 10 people that you can actually go to. And or if it's $10 million, 10 people you can go to and get $1 million from each person. That's right. That's what you need to know. That's who you need to know. And these are not investors. These are people who believe in you and believe in what you are doing. And the reason being is, when you saw, if you don't understand that, by the time 2020 ended, you should understand that. And that was a lot of businesses basically saw themselves at the point where they didn't have clients come. They couldn't have clients, especially the restaurants. No, if they don't have foot traffic, they're out of business. And then many of them were not really set up for the pivot to a Grubhub or an Uber Eats and that sort of thing. So they had to make changes. They had to make changes very swiftly. Well, this meant that they had to have money in place in order to do this. And many of those different restaurants, they had a capacity for what they could actually store on premise. And because they had vendor relationships, if you were a steak restaurant, well, you had vendor relationships where they were delivering steaks to you on a regular basis. So, everything got backed up because then now you said, well, I can't take it. I'm at capacity. Well, that meant the meat company has a capacity as well. So now they have to now try to pivot and where they're going to put the meat that they have, where the trucker's going to be. You see how that domino, it falls back just as well as it falls up. So if all
Correct.
of them did not have in place, those restaurants that didn't go out of business, they had well in hand in place those 10 that they could go to, and they actually could pull those monies in and keep, get additional refrigeration places, restructure their restaurants so they could host things outside. Go to Grubhub, pare down the menu with what they could actually offer online. If you look at what they offer in the restaurant versus what they offer on the menu, is different, but they could make that pivot immediately. Some of them
Absolutely.
took a little bit longer time to do it. Others were able to move immediately. This is what you have to have in place. Those are your contingencies. And as Jerome and I are saying, before you come to an investor and you want to invest, even to get a commercial loan, a debt loan, you need to have all of your paperwork in place before you go and you start to try to apply for these things. Ask questions. Come to companies, like ours, to P Financial Group. Come to Platform Capital. Ask the hard questions. What do I need to do? What do I need to have in place? With our Platform Capital group, that's our accelerator hub component. And with that, we have a whole section. We have a 4-week course. We have a 9-week course. And we even have some courses that where we have the freemium courses for 3 weeks. You get 6 hours of training and information. Doesn't cost you anything, but it will cost you everything if you don't have this basic information right at your fingertips, if you don't understand this before you go into trying to ask someone to put in hundreds of millions of dollars or even $200,000 or $300,000 into your company. You have to know these things before you go. Any last parting words that you might have, Jerome, before we wrap up the highest and best usage of the capital guarantee segment?
No, just again, information is one of your best resources. And so being able to have this information, communicate it, share it with others, share this knowledge, and help them to kind of help others to really see the plan, help others to see the highest and best use of the capital guarantee, and continue sharing it. Just get this information out there.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. And we thank you for tuning in and enjoying the show. And as always, we'd like to invite you, if you're interested in being a guest on our show, you can reach us on LinkedIn, or you can most certainly go out to our websites at sandpfinancialgroup.com or platformcp.com. And we always thank you for tuning in to FYNB Talks. And we look forward to seeing you on our next show.
Financing your next $1 billion? Contact us to be a guest. Join us for the next show.